Morning. I'm a little bit early. I'm just doing some sound checks and challenging myself with technology again. I think everything is working. I'm just waiting for anyone to start watching. If you can comment and let me know. You can see my hands, you can see me, you can hear me. That would be great. Yes, can see and hear you. Morning. Good morning from sunny Netherlands. Cheers, Simon. Morning, Chris. Morning, Art. Morning, Martin. Right, so you can all hear me. That's great. What's the time? 2 minutes to 10. Just going to hang on a little bit longer. It's a little bit early. I'm just getting some paint stuff ready. Got the 431 I'm going to build today. Paint it. Probably going to do it a little bit derelict. I'm actually going to try and copy the image. I'm going to sort of like go with that. Door blown off, one of the windows missing. Morning, Jace. Morning, Kev. Morning, Tom. Thanks, Adam. Cheers, mate. Sound and vision is good. Cheers, Andrew. Right, that's good. I always worry that I'm getting something wrong. It was making some weird noises at me this morning, and I realised I hadn't turned my phone down. Right, so new kit that Dylan had been working on when he came down here. The LX431, so it's the LNER Lineside hut. I did ask him for some history on this because I wasn't sure about it. And in a nutshell, this building started off as a signal box. And this was the stores, which is the lower part of the signal box. Obviously, the signal box, the timber frame would have been on top. Timber frame went for whatever reason, and they just turned it into a stores, really, as a line-side hut. It's on the LNER line. I did say to him, I've got to take the mick out of the LNER and go, what's the LNER? I never heard of it. It's nothing to do with LMS, that's for sure. But yeah, so basically, I'm going to build this today. I'm going to tweak it a little bit, make it a little bit more derelict, basically just to show you it's quite a versatile kit. You haven't got to copy the picture exact, or you can do if that's what you're trying to model. But there's a bit of options with the kit, and that's what we're going to do today, really. Dull, North Cornwall. Yeah, Neil, it's not great down here today, mate, either. Jason, yes, LMS. Yeah, it's definitely not an LMS box, this one. Scorching West London. Morning, Roger. How you doing? So sorry, happened to be working indoors. Yeah, to be honest, it's a lot more comfortable today than it was yesterday up here when I was building the layout. Might go and have a look at that in a bit. Right, so first, I'm going to crack on with it then. First thing I'm going to do is just glue the carcass together, the gable ends. Make sure I don't do it upside down like I did in the practice. I have got a little pot where I'm going to put my glue. I tend to just use this glue with a paintbrush. Find it easier. No, it's not going to let me down then. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. I'll just try and square myself up a little bit. There we go. I will keep looking at the comments now and again. I sometimes forget you guys are there, and then I'll have to have a quick look and just get back to you guys as I can. Once I've got this together, I'll have to leave it a couple of minutes anyway. So I'll come back and have a look at your comments. Just using the mat here to get it relatively square. I tend to do one half, then the other half, and then put them together. Glorious hearing crew. Very nice. Use the jig. Yes, Keith. I could use the jig, to be fair, but I just decided to use these grids. They seem to get it close enough for me. I can actually I can see my jig downstairs. It's like just down there. Perhaps should have brought it with me. So hopefully the fun bit of this will be the painting, and I'm going to paint it before I build it. So I won't be long before we start getting the paint out, really. Get the carcass together, start painting the carcass, paint some of the other bits in the board before I cut them out as well. Right, I'm going to let these kick off for a minute. So I will try and engage with you once I get this starting to bite. Morning to Spain, Manchester, Plymouth, Derbyshire, sunny Derbyshire, my favourite. Hi Frank, yes, I'm well. All good, thank you. Hope you're all right. Bites really quick, this stuff, which is quite handy for me, especially when I'm doing it live. I suppose ideally you'd leave those like that 10 minutes or so. So what I'm going to do while they're kicking off, I'm just going to use some white acrylics, and I'm just going to paint up some of these bits now and get the majority of the painting done on this before I take them out of the board. Just using a white for this. This is graduate acrylic Hobbycraft. Same stuff I was using on that retaining wall I did, if you can remember that. And I'm going to actually using a different technique to paint this brick today. I tried it on the one that's on the layout behind me, and it seemed to give me quite good results. So I figured, you know what, I'll do that in the live. Hopefully I can get some good results with it. So I'm not priming this laser board. I'm just going straight over an acrylic. You can prime it if you want to. If you don't prime it, you probably just need a couple of coats of white. Well, to be fair, if it's going to be weathered down, one coat leaves it looking pretty weathered anyway, in all fairness. Probably give it a couple. As you can see, it soaks it up really, really quick. Just a lot easier to do that rather than it being on the edge of the model. We'll still have to get the top edge, no doubt, but it's just getting the majority of it before you cut it out. Simon, yeah, it is pure acrylic. Yeah, I haven't thinned it down. Yeah, if I thin it down, it would swell it up and it probably wouldn't like it too much. Yeah, totally agree with that. Good point. Right, have I missed a load of comments here? You guys are commenting quite quickly. I'm just scrolling back up. Morning all, good morning from Scotland. Morning David from Scotland. Rodney from New Zealand, 9 p.m. tonight. Morning Dylan, glad that you can watch. I'm going to try and do your kit proud today, mate. So I'm just painting the windows. You actually get, there's 4 windows there. I'm not sure if you're meant to glue them back to back. I haven't looked in instructions. I didn't glue them back to back on the one I did yesterday. I think, looking at the picture, I think one of the windows is totally blown and missing anyway. So once I've got this window done, I'm probably going to be able to glue the carcass together, and I can get on with painting the brickwork and hopefully show you guys something worth watching then. I appreciate the minute me painting white bits on the board can't particularly be that interesting. But if you bear with me, I'll be moving on pretty soon. Got my blue tissue today, so I haven't got to shout Kate downstairs to help me out. Right, that's kicked off already, which is ideal. I'm just going to glue this together quickly. It's a lot cooler up here today, so in one sense it's helping me because the glue's not going off as quick on the board. Oh, nice one, Dylan. Yeah, that's a good idea. So you put the glaze in the middle and sandwich it together. I like the idea of that, mate. So what's everyone been up to this week? Modelling plans? Anyone bought any kits from us recently? What have you got planned for them? How many of you have bought this kit? I've made quite a few, so I think it's doing quite well. Be nice to see some of your efforts on this kit actually on the club. So yes, you can be using the jig that we sell. I think it's SX002. Is it 2, Kate? SX002. No, that's fine. That's fine, Kate. I was thinking SX4 or 2. I think 4's the glue, isn't it? The glue stand. But yeah, so I'm just using the board here. And I'm just making sure it's at right angles on the board. Right, that's bit quite well there. Morning, Rennie. Hey up, Duck. Hey up, Phil. How are you doing, mate? All right? Glad you can join me, mate. Morning, Digger. You all right? Right, so colours. I've got these here. I've got like quite a lairish red. Bit more of a browny red. I've got burnt umber, which is a classic. Seem to use that for a lot, don't we? Burnt umber. I've got the white as well, and I've got like a really dark grey blue here, which is quite interesting to finish off with. So first thing I'm going to do is paint it all white. Actually, I'm actually going to do the mortar first, and this is what I did yesterday, and it seemed to work quite well. I'm just pouring a decent amount on here. I've got a hairdryer this week. I think someone commented about me having a heat gun or a hairdryer. I think it might have been Simon Cox. So I've got my hairdryer. I use this on a daily basis, as you can see. No, Kate got me out of trouble with that this morning. I'd already left home and I was like, Kate, got a hairdryer. Need a hairdryer today. So I'm just putting this on quite thick, because what I want to do is fill the mortar. Because it's MDF, 3mm MDF, it soaks it up really, really quick. So the drying times on it are really not too bad at all. So not being shy with it. It's really important to get all the low spots at this stage. Right, which camera? We'll use this camera. Can you see how I've got all the low spots on it? And you can't really put too much on, in fairness, because it's timber. And it soaks it up so quick. You can't really put too much on. Oh, sorry, Simon, it wasn't you, was it? I know someone was like, you need a heat gun, Sam, you need a heat gun up there. So I acted on that. I thought it was you, Simon. And I think, Simon, were you the guy that told me that the LX431 gate I did on the other diorama was upside down? So appreciate that. It's always good to know. Morning, Andrew. How you doing? All right? Trying to keep up with your comments, guys, and concentrate on painting this as quick as possible as well, because I am conscious that, again, me just painting this probably isn't that exciting for you. You're not really seeing any results yet. You can see how I'm putting this on really wet. So if you don't put it on this wet, you're not filling the mortar lines. And remember, this white, all this is for the mortar lines and nothing else. I mean, there might be the odd one down the bottom, but that's not too much of an issue. So I haven't put any heat on that gable end, and it's tacky. It's not far off already. Hopefully, if this works out, this method, you haven't got to mess about with matte lacquers or anything like that. I'm beginning to think I prefer this method. I think this probably works because it's quite a deep engrave on the mortar lines. So the mortar lines are quite a lot lower than the high spot of the face of the brick. I think if you had a little bit less of a mortar line, if it wasn't quite as engraved as deep, this method might not work. But we'll see. Top tip, do the chimney at the same time. Otherwise, you might end up with a chimney a different colour. I know mine did. Oh, okay. I haven't built the chimney. Dylan, I was going to leave the chimney off because it's live and it's fiddly. I was going to leave the chimney off, mate, if I'm all honest with you. I have got a bit of an idea with it. I was going to try and build it at the end and actually have the chimney on the floor, lying next to the building. So it'd be weathered and, I don't know, covered in weeds if it was on a diorama. But yeah, to replicate this, hopefully, shouldn't be too bad. Shouldn't be too bad if you were doing another building again. I suppose with the retaining walls, the LX421 and the 206, replicating the whole line could be difficult, but some variation is fine anyway. I know I struggled when I did my retaining walls. I've used a different brand. I did these a while ago. Well, I bought them in blocks because they're expensive. And I did struggle to replicate the first lot I did. So I had to end up blending the second batch into the first batch. So I had to blend it left just to take your eye off it. But the variation was absolutely fine. You don't really want it too uniform, that's for sure. Right, so all the white is nearly on now. Just about got enough on the board. Maybe a bigger brush. Yeah, that's probably a good idea, actually. I could have used a bigger brush, in all fairness. These things don't always come to you when you're live. But fair one, a bigger brush might have worked better. Although I'm really concentrating with this brush, almost stippling it in. So that's my excuse for having a smaller brush. Right, so that's all on. So that first one now is pretty much ready to go. So I'm just going to make horrible noise. So turn your speakers down while I just use the airdryer a minute. Right, that's it. I think that's gone. That's kicked it off already, which is ideal. So I'm going to go with like a red Victorian sort of brick. I think it's probably like a Victorian brick. So don't need the white anymore. Excuse me. Well, hopefully you can see what I'm doing here. So what I'm going to do is these three different sort of oxides. You know, it's a bright red, a red oxide and a burnt umber. I'm just going to put these onto this board. And I'm going to mix them, sort of semi-mix them on the panel, or the model, should I say, not the panel. Still a little bit of motor trade in the back of my head somewhere. Onto the model. I'm going to semi-mix them. So if I mix them all together now, probably get quite a nice colour, but it'd be quite uniform. And what I'm trying to do is just get different shades of brick, finish off with this one as well. So I'm not cleaning my brush out in between any of this. Fox, let's have a look here. What are we saying here? I'll have a play this afternoon. What's the emblem on your cap? Oh, it's Fox Racing. They mainly do like mountain. It's like a mountain bike brand. They do a little bit of BMX stuff as well. So yeah, there we go. Thanks, Rachel. Look like you answered that already. Dylan, hi Andrew, the LX431 was modelled off a prototype found at Whitby, which is LX431-OO. Yeah, I sort of read your history, Dylan, and sort of explained at the start a little bit about it. But thanks for coming on and helping me out with the history side of it, mate. Appreciate that. Right, so what I'm going to do is just start with one colour. Bear with me, because this will look a little bit garish on its own. And what I needed to do is wipe the brush off. So I'm not dry brushing, but I certainly don't want it as wet as I've just done it. And it's just a case, it's just a little bit more than dry brushing. You can see here where I've just put too much on because I wasn't concentrating. You see, so it's filled all the mortar. Where I've started here, it's taking your time, a little bit more than dry brushing. And really lightly, so you're not putting any pressure on. You start painting the bricks, but not the low spots where the mortar would be. So the key is not too much paint and not a lot of pressure. You see how that's just starting to pick up the brick. I tend to do it in both directions when I did this yesterday as well. So I started off horizontally. You see there where I just put way too much paint on, you can see it's actually filled the mortar. So that's what you don't want to do. So in a sense, it's quite good that I did that. So I'm just sort of dry brushing it across now. And as you can see, it's starting to give that effect already. And this red one's a little bit bright red, but I haven't cleaned the brush. So I'm now sort of, as you can see on the board, I'm now just selecting two of the colours, mixing them in the middle, making sure I haven't got too much on. And I'm going in the opposite direction. And it's just taking your time, just gradually getting a little bit more on. I've got some burnt umber now, and I'm taking a little bit of the burnt umber and putting it over here. And I'm just snatching a little bit of the other two colours. And it's just going to give another slight variation. So dry brushing does work. It's not quite enough paint when you're dry brushing. So you need just a little bit more than dry brushing. But the key is light strokes and not putting too much pressure on the model, because that's when you'll start filling the mortar line. So depending on how much white you want on it, let's try this camera actually. So I'd say that still needs a little bit more yet. Still a little bit too white. But you can leave sort of big patches a bit whiter than others. I'm just going to try and use these colours a little bit more individually now and really try and get some variation in the bricks. I'm just going on with the burnt umber there now. Sorry about that interference. I got a bit close there. Right, I'm just going to look at the comments again. Just like grouting wall tiles. Yeah, I guess it is, in fairness, Roger. You could dab it with a sponge. That could work as well. This was just something that I just did yesterday, and it might have been the day before yesterday, actually. But we figured that it might be quite good to make a video. So now I'm going to put some black on this now. I'll show you on this camera. And you see how that's just starting to go? So the red probably wants toning down a little bit here. And to me, it looks not far off, but on camera, I can see there's still too much white on there. So I'm going to go a little bit more for the sake of the camera. You've got to be a little bit patient with it. It's, you know, it's quite tempting to just sort of want to slap it on, really. But if you got it wrong, you could always go back to the other method anyway, where you'd matte lacquer it, seal it with a matte lacquer, and then you could then use the white over the top and rub it in and use it as a buff. I just thought for anyone that, you know, is on a budget and you haven't got to worry about matte lacquer, or you're concerned about the smell or anything like that, hopefully this can show you that you can get a half decent result and you can actually skip that method out. Right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add some black onto that now. I say black, it's called carbon black, so it's got a lot of blue in it. But it seems to work. It seemed to work quite well. And this, I am dry brushing it. It might be worth painting individual bricks with this. But again, I'm not cleaning the brush. And the brown that's already on the brush is just sort of toning it down a little bit. See if I can do this here for you. I'm going to start at the top and just put some sort of streaks on it. And if you go a bit too much, you can always sort of tone it down. Perhaps put some streaks down either side of the window ledges. You see how that's starting to go now. I still think there's probably a little bit too much white in places on that. So I'm going to add a bit more. I'm not going to clean the brush, and I'm just going to add some browns, reds and oranges to it. And just try and get a little bit more white out of it, I think. And remember that you guys are watching, and try and keep it under the camera as well. I wasn't sure yesterday when I was doing this, but by the time I put the tiles on and the doors and stuff, it seemed to work quite well. So where I've dry brushed the blues on, just going horizontal now just to try and break the streaking out of it. I feel like that is about there. Perhaps I'll just leave that side and carry on building it now rather than painting all the other sides, unless you guys want to see that again. Morning, Leslie. It looks splendid. Cheers, Digger. Really, railway building walls are often patched, and a few bright ones are fine. Okay. Thanks, Roger. Environmentally unsound. I'm just reading your comments back, guys, a minute. Bear with me. Are you self-taught or did you go to art school? No, I didn't go to art school. I was a paint sprayer in the motor trade for 14 years. I think I probably picked up a lot of understanding of colours and stuff there. Airbrushed a few like helmets and bits and bobs like that. You know, a few sports bikes and whatever. Perhaps that was, perhaps that gave me some sort of experience. I think, I'm not sure. The camera will emphasise the white sand. Yeah, it does, mate. This is why I've had to try and tone it down a little bit more, because to my eyes now, it looks about right. In fact, well, we've got like the KX006 kit we do with the wrap, and I've just got it to the right of me here, actually, on Ian's diorama layout, and it looks bang on. But when I'm now looking at it here, the camera is sort of picking up the white a bit more, but you know, I think it's all right. I think it's all right. So I'm going to leave the other sides and just sort of like get this built a little bit. I'm really modding the kit here, so I'm not sure. This might not work, but who cares? Let's just have a go. Doesn't matter, does it? So these are quite delicate, and I always seem to break them. I've already broken one already getting it out of the kit, and I've glued it back together. So this may or may not go all right, but I'm going to put the rafters on. I'm going to leave the tile, sort of like the tile bed off, which is this here. You'd use this if you were using the chimney, but because I want to put some holes in the tiles, I don't want that underneath it, and I need to keep looking at the picture as well. It's quite a lot darker on the pictures, a lot more browns on there. So even though this is not a bad example of Victorian brick, the stuff in here, or the picture on here, is there's a lot more, probably a lot more just burnt umber on it. So if you did want to replicate that exact picture, you'd want to more burnt umber, and you'd want to stay away from the sort of brighter reds that I've used. So I've got a cadmium red and a Venetian red. That's probably okay. That one's probably a bit loud. How long have you been railway modelling for? Probably, well, on and off for years, but properly with my own layout, my own channel and stuff, about 18 months. That's when I sort of really tried to make something look, you know, real, really, or to the best of my knowledge. Right, so I'm going to get these trusses in. And again, as you can see, hopefully you can see, I'm just using a paintbrush again. These actually slot in quite nice. A little bit easier than the barn, actually, the KX057. They're a little bit tighter to get in. You've got to be really careful when you're putting them in. I think it's because the wraps go in there, so it's just a little bit of a tighter fit. They fit in fine. You've just got to be conscious that if you push on the top of the truss, it'll go. And I mean, I may break some of these now, because this one's a little bit tighter to go in, actually. And they need to be pretty flush with the bottom of the model, so you can get your tiles in the right place. In fact, that one's got it. That one's slotted in quite nicely, to be fair, as well. It's just make sure that you push on the edges, not on that centerpiece. I've done that plenty of times. Push on the centerpiece and it'll just give way. So there's my top tip for building kits. Probably pretty obvious to all of you lot, but it wasn't to me. I'm a bit heavy-handed when it comes to building kits. Is the bosses watching? The bosses aren't here today, so I've got no support with all the tech and all the commenting and stuff. That's why I keep leaning over to read your comments. They might be watching. If they are watching, they'll probably comment now to say yes, we are watching. We'll see. I'm not sure how many people are actually watching, because I don't really know which bit to click to tell me how many people are watching. I know there's probably about 30 of you perhaps that have commented, so at least I know I'm not sat here talking to myself, which is a good thing. So what do you guys think to paint job on that? Has it got potential? 105. Cheers, Andrew. Has it got potential? I'm keen to hear some feedback on that, even if it's not positive. I'm all right with that. I have no issues with that sort of stuff. It was me just simply playing around and thought, oh, I wonder if it'll work this way. And I do feel like it sort of worked. I think the one that I've made 2 days ago might look a little bit better, in all fairness, than that one. I don't know if it's because it's built and it now looks better, or perhaps I just made a better paint job when it was just me chilling out up here in the afternoon and I didn't have the pressure of sort of talking while I was doing it. I'm not sure, but we'll see how this turns out in the end. And then if I can work out how to take the camera off and keep it live and all the other stuff when I've done this, we'll go and have a look at the progress that I've done so far on this diorama on the BB017. It's far from complete. It's nowhere near complete. It's just basically got embankments on there, a little bit of static grass. It's got no foliage. There's still bits of plaster that are bleeding through. So just so you're aware, it's far from complete, but I can still show you where I'm up to on that. Right, so they went in a treat, actually. Really happy with that. So tiles, we all know how to work these. I am now going to try and leave some gaps like picture. There's quite a big hole, and there's one window missing. In fact, I'm going to put the window ledges in now, and I struggled putting these in yesterday. I don't think it's anything to do with the kit. I just think it's my my incompetence in making kits, to be fair. So let's have a go now, see how we get on. I think I was putting it in at too much of an acute angle, and that's why I was struggling to get them in. In fact, I don't think I glued them, because I think I dry fitted them and then I couldn't get them back out again. And what I will do is I will put a bit of glue on it this time, and I'll have a look at the comments again. Morning, Andy. Do I have the one I built yesterday to hand? I do, Simon. It's on the layout behind me, and I've already dried it in place with its first layer of ballast and soils. So I can't just lift it off and bring it over here, but I'm hoping I can take my phone off when I've done this, and I can show you. I use the waste wood to run through the slots for the rafters. It's the same thickness. Then okay, yeah, that's a good idea. That is a good idea. It says Facebook user, so apologies, I can't thank you for whoever you are. But yeah, that's a good one. That's good to remember. Right, so I'm going to put these window ledges. I'm going to put both window ledges in, because it looks like there's both window ledges on the picture, but just one window. Now, I did find these really fiddly yesterday. I sort of put them in at an angle, dropped them on the floor a few times. So I put them in at that. I'm going to use this camera because I put them in at that sort of angle, and then struggled to get it in because I was putting it in at too big an angle. So just have to lift it up one end a little bit. Actually, no, it's a good job of practice yesterday, because that's gone in. If I can do it, anyone can do it, I can tell you that. When it comes to kits, I don't have that much confidence building them, to be honest, sometimes. I think when I'm on my own, when I've got no one watching, it's a different story, and if you make a mess of it, it doesn't really matter, does it? Because there's no one watching you. Right, I'm happy there in. So I've already painted the windows. We'll just painted them while they're still in the board. I'm glad there's 4 windows, because I ripped a window yesterday getting it out. I get a little bit impatient when it comes to cutting this stuff out. I won't say impatient, heavy-handed. Right, there we go, happy days. So I'm just going to put one in. I think it was the back window. There's one window in. So again, using the paintbrush, I'm just going to glue up the sides. And technically, before I put this glue on, I probably should have painted the sides red as well, but I haven't. And what I'm going to do actually is, when I've done this, I'm going to paint this back or gable end, and I'm going to just concentrate using burnt umber and see if I can get a better colour match for what's in here. In hindsight, I just should have done that in the first place. I wasn't necessarily copying it, I was taking inspiration from it, but now it's sort of developed as I've been on live to actually, I want to sort of like replicate that a little bit more. Right, so the window's sitting just nicely. You just need to sort of tweak them a little bit, just so they're square. Might not put enough glue on this one, so it may fall out. It's not such a snug fit, the windows, so they do heavily rely on a bit of glue to hold them in place. I'm hoping that's going to hold in place now. Well, I don't know, I'm not convinced actually. We'll see how it goes. What I could do is just put some glue in from the inside. Now this kit has got all the detail for the chimney, all on the inside as well. Dylan's put a lot of effort into doing all of that, and I've been a bit of a Philistine and left it all out. But I am much of a modeler. If you can't see the detail, I don't put it in. And I know a lot of people fully detail signal boxes, and it looks absolutely phenomenal. I suppose you could say I'm a bit of a lazy modeler, and if you can't see it, I tend to not worry about it. Right, just want to try and get this window a bit straighter, and then I'll move on, guys. Right, that's better. Happy with that. I'm just seeing if I lent in, put my elbow in the paint. Right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to painting, and anyone that's joined late, you might be able to look at this again anyway. I'm going to concentrate more on this colour. To me, it looks like it's a lot of burnt umber, a bit of black, probably a little bit of orange. So I might just grab some orange out the drawer to play around with the burnt umber. Fortunately, I've got that just here. So I'm going to probably go with this one, mix this with the burnt umber, see what I can do. Let's have a play. So we've done the white's drying, so the mortar's done. Got some burnt umber out actually already. I'm going to try this yellow. It's a bit like an ochre sort of yellow, a little bit more canary than that actually now it's out. And use the black again. If I just lift these colours up to the camera, and then it gives you the idea of the colours that I'm using. So you can see now I've got the black. So working from right to left, I think right to left, it's the right way around for you guys. Got the black, the yellow, the burnt umber. Then I've used the bright red and sort of like an oxide red, and then obviously I have the white as well. I'm going to start with just burnt umber on its own. I need to make sure my brush is totally dry for this. So again, not too wet, but certainly not too dry. I'll start down the bottom as well, actually, just to make sure I haven't got too much paint on there. There we go. So I am putting this on a bit dry because my brush is wet. It's just thinning the paint a little bit. In fact, I'm just going to get a nice dry brush for this. Right, there we go. I think this burnt umber is actually just a thinner paint to begin with, in all fairness. Because that's filling the mortar lines quite quickly, which is quite interesting. That doesn't seem to be working quite as well as the other colours. We'll see how we go. So yes, I know this is going to not match the front. I'm using this video for myself really, and you guys as an example. And that paint is certainly very thin, which isn't really helping my cause for this. I'm going to add some yellow into it as well, just to give it a different dimension of colours. I think actually dry brushing this might be the way forward with this paint, just because the burnt umber on its own does seem quite thin. I wonder when I used the wet brush, I actually added a bit of water into it, so I'm just going to use a fresh brush, see if that's a bit better. Perhaps that's a bit better. Sorry about the mic, I leant forward a bit too close then. Sorry guys, I keep leaning forward and it's setting that mic off. I'm not sure what I'm doing wrong with that. Apologies. So I've gone back to this orangey red, and it certainly seems to work a little bit better than the burnt umber. It's just got a little, just the viscosity of it's just thicker, and I'm not sure why that is. So you can see where I've gone with the burnt umber, I'm actually going really stripy. So this may not have worked quite as well with just the burnt umber. We'll see if I can save it. What I might have to do is where the stripes are is paint these now individually with the sort of like that dark blue, the carbon black I've got. It's thinking about it. It's going. Right, so I'm going to add the black now, dry brush it. And we're going to just do, you see where like there's obvious patches, I'm going to just try and do them in between as perhaps different colours of brick. So you can just sort of blend out the lines a little bit, just try and cheat the eye. At the end of the day, that's all we're doing really, aren't we? When we're modelling, we're trying to convince you that it's real. So I'm sure with a bit of patience and time, I'd probably get this. That's not looking too bad. Still got this here that's a bit of a crisscross. I'm just trying to blend it out a little bit more. Again, if you end up getting it like that and it hasn't quite worked how you wanted, you've only got to paint it white again and start again. So it's it's really not the end of the world. Try and put some uprights of black in it now, especially near the top where the rafters and trusses are. Right, I'm going to leave that at that. Not quite as good as the front, although it looks a lot better to me than it does on the lens, which is a bit frustrating. Might be nice to finish it with some powders or something as well. Right, move on to tiles. These are a little bit time consuming as well, but they look really good when they're done. Especially with them all pre-weathered. And we do 3 different stages of weathering on these tiles. These are the same as the 410s essentially, so you can buy these individually on an A4. And we do the 416s, which are the plain ones, and there's another one we do, can't remember the part number, somewhere around 400, but it's like a semi-weathered. These seem to be the most popular ones. So these have just got little tags on them. They come away quite well. Forgot you guys were here for a minute. Let me have a look at these comments. Scroll back up. Hi Wheezy, recognise your name. Thanks for joining me. Thanks Digger. We said that a while ago. I'm 20 minutes behind, am I? Morning Andy. Lots of Andrews online. Does any of you work at Pico Help Desk? I tend to use a flathead brush for dry brushing rather than the round head. Find it easier to control. Top tip, spend as much as you can on brushes. Will last longer and perform better. Yeah, nice one, Simon. I think you're right with that. I have used spreader cards and stuff in the past just to sort of like try and scrape the paint across it. Sounds like breaking goods wagons. Yeah, I think it's when I get too close to one of the cameras. I'm not really sure it's the tech Can anyone tell me the dimensions of individual roof tile from that kit? Yeah, I can, Rachel. Six mil high. It should be fine. I'm guessing it's going to be 4 mil wide. And 4 mil wide, yeah. So a foot by foot and a half in 176. So I'll get a few layers of tiles on and probably call it a day on this, unless you guys really want to see how it's going. I can carry on. Let me know. If not, we can go and have 5 minutes over at the on the diorama, show you how that's coming on. It's got to be ready for a local show if it goes ahead on the 3rd of July. So I wouldn't say I'm behind, but I've got plenty to do. So I'm on my own today. Frank's off today. He's actually leaving in 3 weeks. So I'm on my own in production today. Got Kate downstairs doing full filament at the minute. It's just the two of us today. I think we're sort of on top of the orders at the minute, which is nice. Get some preparation in, ready for the surge in winter. So as you can see, I'm just using a paintbrush again for this. Before I put too many tiles on. Just looking at the holes on that. You've got the bottom row that's there. Second row seems to be missing near the back. So what I'm going to do is cut this tile down, cut this strip down. And then just use some bits of it. Try and cover the top tile. I bet that glue's dry now. This glue dries pretty quick. It's getting a bit warm up here now. Looks like the sun's come out a little bit. So I want about half a tile, give or take, exposed for this. Probably don't want that one on there actually, because that's quite a large tile on the end. I'm going to cut that one off. Reglue it again. So look at these comments here. Well, I've missed a lot here again now. Sorry guys. I want to replace some old flat plastic Hornby roofs with the lovely SMS weathered ones. So I want the tile size to be similar to the printed ones. Okay, I'm not sure if I can answer that. Rachel, I assume you're the Rachel that's on the club. If you put that question there, or if Dylan's listening, he might be able to answer that for me. So I'm just doing half tiles here again. I'm just going to put them a little bit more random now, as if they're sort of like moved around a little bit. And you see they break up quite easily, these tiles. Stockton Junction, hi. What weathering powders will I use? Thanks, Sam. What show is that, Sam? So is it the one at Meva? Yeah, it's the one at Meva. I think someone mentioned Meva Gizzy for, yeah, it's the one at Meva Gizzy, the 50th anniversary, something like that. Would like to see how the show diorama is coming on. Yeah, we are going to move over to that now. You guys are bored of watching me do tiles. if, you know, we can just go straight over there now and have a look at that if you want. What's the time here? Been on an hour already. Don't think it took me as long to make it yesterday, but I suppose I wasn't chatting and getting distracted as much. What I can do is I can always just finish this off and put it in the club when it's done. Try and print off the one that I've tried to copy, because obviously I haven't painted either of these sides yet anyway. These sides actually have ended up just matching anyway, because I've had to drop the burnt umber because it was just didn't seem to be working as well as the other colours when it was on its own. You're getting feedback from your microphone. Have you got a loudspeaker on in your room? If that is why the feedback is occurring, Andy, I've no idea, mate. My technology is atrocious. I seem to lean back and then it goes again. So I think it's when the mic gets too close to the to either the phone or the camera. I'm going to do another row of tiles, and because I'm conscious machines are silent downstairs, I need to get back down there really. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my phone off and we'll go over and have a look at the layout that I'm doing. It's hopefully I won't turn the live off when I take my phone off and stuff like that. Trying to put a few more tiles on just so you've got the idea of where I was going with this. That noise keeps coming back, Kate. I don't know why it's doing it. I'm still live. I think you can vouch for me that I was like flapping around, wasn't I? At like 10 to 10 trying to work out why it was doing it. Yeah, I think when I lean forward, it kicks it off. I'm not really sure. People don't want you that close anyway. No, true. Right, I'm going to leave this at this and work on this sort of in my own time, because I appreciate it can't be that interesting to watch me just doing some tiles. But you get the idea. Probably take those off in the middle there actually, rather than doing that full strip. I've left the window out, leaving the door blown off as well. Oh, in fact, yeah, I put the sides on last as well, as you can see. That's what I'm going to copy. I'm conscious it's 11 o'clock. Let's go over and have a look at this layout that I've started. Like I said before, it is far from finished. There's still bare plaster and whatnot. In fact, I wonder if I can bring the layout to the phone. That might be an idea. Right, let's see if we can get it on this table in front of the camera. Right, bear with me, it's just there. Right, can we see this? No, I'm going to take the phone off, guys, it's easier. Right. I just need to change speakers. I'm going to turn that one on. Right. Can you guys remove. Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you.
I know you can hear me. I've like unplugged everything. I just want to make sure everyone can hear me now. And no one's responding, so I think no one can hear me. Yes, can hear you. Just, yep, brilliant. Nice one. Right. I don't even know how to flip my camera, so I'm going to have to do it like this. Right, so here's the one that I've already done. You just about see that. So that's the idea of what I was doing. Just started putting some grass down on this embankment. Got to weather it yet. Got the LX431-OO that still needs sort of bedding in. I'm waiting for some foliage and stuff to turn up for that area. That's a better view. So up this corner, I wanted to put a barn, but the 17's not actually that wide. So I've basically just chopped it in half and made a low relief barn. I need to put trees up this corner to sort of disguise that you can't see the other half. Here's all the static grass that I've been playing around with. Tracks ballasted but needs weathering. I need to put rock fall in here because this way you can still see the bare plaster. It's a branch line, so it's got, there we go, that's better, you can see that a bit better. So I've got the LX80s that are just lying there now. They're not glued down yet. There's a 413, not derelict but worn. Put some powders over the tiles to add another dimension to it. This yard needs another sprinkle of this pile here just to tone it all down a little bit. I'm burying the green field in the back scene at the back so I can get a better blend against the trees. So there'll probably be some sea foam in there. The LX431-OO needs to continue on to the end of the board. There's going to be a tunnel portal here and a road bridge over that end, hence why you've got these gaps at the end. So that's where I'm up to. I'm quite pleased with that. It's coming on all right. Just a lot more work. There's been 2 days on that at the minute. I've actually, you can see I've added this embankment here, and all I've done for that, as you can see, I've just used offcuts and a jigsaw and just gave myself something to then pull the grass off, so it gives you that impression that it's running through an embankment. So that's where I'm up to. I think the next one I do will be a proper sort of how-to on how, you know, try and get the best out of a BB017. This is a bit of a rush. This is one that's going to go to Meather. Like I say, a lot of work to do. The barn needs a little retaining wall sort of down here, loads of foliage, track weathering, wild flowers in this nice lush embankment. So yeah, plenty to do, but that's what it's up to. So I'm just going to have a look at the comments because they're back over here. See if anyone's got any particular questions. And then I'm going to naff off. Radius curve the back seam corners. Yeah, I was going to, mate. Let me just put my phone back in here. Hopefully that's not going to pop off live. I was going to do that, Rog, but 17's quite narrow, and it was restricting how much stuff I could get on there, and I've had to put the whole so it lines up with Ian's layout, which is you saw a couple of weeks ago. I've cut the hole out so that single branch line will go directly into a track, so it can be a continuation of that. The idea being that's urban, and it goes into that rural. Thanks, Sam. Great session. Lots of excellent tips. I tried my best, Martin. I hope to finish that building, but it just needed a little bit more time, and I think it needed sort of like full concentration rather than trying to engage with you guys as well. Blends really well into the back scene. Ace. Cheers, Kev. Yeah, I've got a lot more work. I want to blend that a lot better if I can. But yeah, it's getting there. I'm quite happy with that so far. Fantastic embankment too. Yeah, that's just past Paris over cardboard, masking tape, dirt, fillers, and bits and bobs. That blends really well with the back scene. Thank you. Looking good. Looks great. Yes. Looking splendid. Cheers, guys. Yeah, we can hear you. Right, okay. I've caught up with you. Right, guys, thanks for tuning in. Hope that was all right. I will finish this when I get a chance, and I'll get it on the Railway Modelers just so you can see what the end result was. Obviously, you can see the end result because I've just shown you on that layout as well. But yeah, take care. I don't know what's happening next week. I'm sure you'll see an update on social media platforms, and I will see you soon. Thanks for watching. Cheers, guys.